The thing is that, as far as I'm concerned, since we met you people 500 years ago, look at us. We've given everything. You are still taking. It's true. I mean, where will the whole Western world be be without Africa? Our cocoa, our timber, our gold, our diamonds, our platinum, our whatever, everything you are is us. I am not saying it; it's a fact. And in return for all of this, what have we got? Nothing. Anti-personnel indoctrination against ourselves. If you go and cook your horrible diseases like AIDS, you say it is us. You brought us tuberculosis. We didn't have this big cough until white people came here. In exchange for in exchange for Africa giving Europe 500 solid years of our people, I mean, not Europe, the Western world, of our human beings to work your canes, to dig your gold, to taking gold itself, diamond, I mean, fish, peanuts, palm oil, everything. In exchange for that, we have got nothing, nothing, and you know it, nothing. And you look upon, white folks look upon us like monkeys. It is true. It's in your literature. Hey, some of your best thinkers have said this about us. Have you heard of all these Germans? Have you heard?
Okay.
Yes. They said Lord
Yes.
Burton, people like that. They said we don't even have the brain of animals. That's what we've got from you people.
But don't you think that this is over now?
Over where? Is it over? Who said that 8 came from the green monkey?
Welcome to another edition of the Nick and CJ show, but actually, it's going to be the Nick, Rome, and CJ show. Rome will be here in just a second. Love that clip. Love that clip. But what's up, Nick?
What's poppin', my friends, my family? We are back again. Nick, Rome, and CJ, Friday edition. Make sure you guys like and please share, subscribe, help us beat the algorithm. We got a lot of great things to talk about. One thing I want to lead off with, because I also want to get your take on this, because I see this coordinated effort by the establishment. Because I listened to Biden's speech, because I was about to go on around the same time. That's why I was like, let's make a Nick and CJ. And now we got Rome coming. Now we about to have a real good time. How about come on today? Because I listened to Biden's speech, and I was listening to it. And I'm like, do you guys realize how unhinged of a speech this is? Americans have been so desensitized by the deeply unserious nature of our politics. You had Biden that was calling people who disagree with him an extremist. And there's this coordinated effort that's been going on with progressives as well, that want people to fear their neighbor. They want them to say, oh my God, there's these massive divides. You notice this push by the advocates of the red-blue game on the Democrats and the Republican side. You got the Ron DeSantis fighting the culture war with his heart content, because he wants his people to be afraid of the Democrats, be afraid of the woke mob, The Republicans, they talk about, and they got the Democrats talking about ultra MAGA, ultra Republicans. There is this, and I'm gonna say it because a lot of people buy into it, and I'm open to pushback. That's why I was talking about this on my call today. This divide is 100% manufactured. 100% manufactured for multiple reasons, on multiple layers, CJ. So they want to pretend that there's this big divide. That divide is only on partisan bullshit, right? Do you support Trump? Do you support Joe Biden? Outside of that, where's the divide? I'm asking you guys, where's the divide? First off,
that's true. Just think about it. I'm asking people to apply Nick's question to the practical sense. When is it the time that you're arguing about politics? Is it the culture issues, or if somebody says the rich is getting off on not paying their taxes,
Yes.
doesn't everybody agree with that? Don't you think that people shouldn't be bought off? There shouldn't be bribes. Like everybody agrees with that. So we have to understand who are the people that's telling us this is a culture war and this is crazy.
Yeah.
Who is telling us this? That's what you have to understand. Go ahead, Nick.
CJ, look in all the mainstream media articles. I know you guys seen it. I'm not talking about this for no reason. Every Washington Post, all the big media outlets, Fox News, MSNBC, there's a civil war coming. Americans hate each other. Hey, don't work with your neighbor. Don't organize your neighbor. Your neighbor's a Trumper. Your neighbor's a woke lefty person who believe in the LGBT mob, right? They doing and I cannot emphasize enough that it's literally both sides that is doing it. That both sides are ramping it up.
Yes.
You got Republicans fucking own goaling. Like the fucking Democrats doing better than expected. Sarah Palin lost. Republicans are not expected.
Saw that.
They're not expected to do as much as well as people thought because they ramped up the culture war. They fucking banned abortion, got rid of Roe v. Wade, started going after trans people. And all they had to do was shut the fuck up. But it's a coordinated effort to get the workers to fight because now this is why Biden's rhetoric, and I'm sorry, CJ, this is the first.
No, go ahead.
So this is why Biden's rhetoric is bullshit, and we as leftists, we must push back. You see the TYT left, the people we about to go over this episode. That's why this is the perfect episode to lead this monologue off with. This is for real. Look at these people on Twitter, the people in our thumbnail, Marianne Williamson, Robert Reich. I'm gonna show you guys Bernie Sanders' tweet. And sign the flame, pretending that the other side is a threat of our democracy. You want to know who the threat to our democracy? The person who's executing and going after Julian Assange. The person who's putting 100,000 cops in the streets. Joe Biden. Joe Biden gave a speech, and I'm going to show you this clip. Max Blumenthal found it as well. I was trying to pull this up. Look at him saying, oh my God, the other side are extremists. The other side are extremists because they endorse political violence. Said the guy who is about to put 100,000 cops on the streets. What do you guys think the cops are there for? You think they're there to ask workers nicely? There is no bigger advocate of violence than Jim Crow Joe. So actually, I'm glad we got Rome. This is perfect timing.
What's up, Rome?
Get my clip.
Yeah.
What's good? So just to let you guys know, because I know I'm going a little longer. The thesis of this segment, Biden's premise that we are divided is bullshit. The ruling class is united. The working class is united. You guys understand? If you ask the working class, do you support a living wage? Do you support health care? Do you want to end the wars? This is the second calling I did in like the last week where I had a libertarian dude called in like, dude, I agree with everything you're saying, man. You guys got to work with libertarians. My response to him, I'm like, bro, I went to the libertarians to get serious because we're here. A lot of them focus on the culture war. That's what I told them. But we're down. But the point is, the idea that we have these disagreements is only over who we vote for. And then the ruling class, they all voting for Ukraine. Unanimously. They all voting for corporate bailouts. They all getting PPP loans. Where's the disagreement? Anyway, let me play this video, Rome, and I'll pass it to you because did Joe Biden pretending that only one side uses violence? Pretending only the Republicans, Jim Crow Joe, the chief architect of our violent political system, is pretending only that Republicans do it. Here's the video.
And this is a nation that rejects violence as a political tool. We do not encourage violence.
Then, when I was in your position, I was suggesting we bomb Belgrade. I was suggesting that we send American pilots in and blow up all the bridges on the Drina. I was suggesting we take out his oil supplies. I was suggesting very specific action.
Remember the segment we did a while ago, CJ? Where people were like, oh man, you guys call for violent revolution. Violence is never the answer. People say violence is never the answer, but they got 800 military bases, sending weapons to Ukraine, sending weapons to Israel, increasing police budgets. So it's funny how violence is never the answer for us, but they use it real quick. So
it speaks to the power. It speaks to the power of propaganda, and it just confirms how we're the most propagandized people on the planet, because Americans think we're heroes. Like they really think we have hero bomb. Like the bomb explodes and just democracy fumes just come out. That's what they think. And it's not destroying lives. It's not causing like lifelong trauma on these kids, lifelong trauma. People are burying like children. So it's just it's terrible. But it's funny, Nick, that like we vibe the same in conversation, especially because I had this segment, Democrats are extremists, and then I saw you talking about. I'm like, wow, this was the segment. That was the name of the segment I was gonna do. But I mean, I feel like that's what we're talking about. Yep. No, I'm saying that's what I'm saying. I feel like what you're bringing up is connected to. I'll be right proving that the Democrats are the ones. Go ahead. The Democrats are the ones that are the extremists in this matter, because who increased police funding? Who had more COVID deaths? Who has more marijuana arrests? More drilling permits? Who's doing the censorship? Who's adding members to NATO? Like who's instigating World War III? Like who's not trying to push voting rights? Not trying to push $15. Like these are the extreme issues. They're like the Republicans. They're talking, but the Democrats are the ones who get the shit done. Go ahead, Nick. Crime bill. I forgot about that. 1994 crime bill.
I'm gonna show you guys this clip from probably one of my favorite press secretaries ever. She's so bad at this, but she's talking about this. She's talking about the radical ultra MAGA. So let's watch this video, and let's break down ultra MAGA compared to Joe Biden, and we get to that. Let's watch this video first.
And again, we see majority of Americans who disagree. And so when you are not with where majority of Americans are, then, that is extreme. That is an extreme way of thinking. And with where majority of Americans
they're trying to say that you're extreme on culture issues, but they never bring up the economic stuff.
Yes.
They only want to bring up these small handful of issues and say they're extreme on these issues. But what about all the economic stuff? Go ahead, Nick.
CJ, I was going to pass it right to you in Rome. She says, if you are not where the vast majority of the American people are, that makes you extreme. Pause. Hey, Jim Crow Joe, guess how many Americans support Medicare for all? And he said he would veto it. The majority of Republican voters support decriminalizing marijuana. Jim Crow Joe's not even doing that. So
the majority of Americans don't even like Jim Crow Joe at all. So motherfuckers who put him in place.
Yeah, going by that. Shit, he should resign. Look at your approval rating.
What was what were the tweets you were going to show? Because I thought the tweets you were going to show was them trying to play this panic role of trying to say that the GOP is that not what the tweets you were going to show?
Yeah, that
from
was
Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, this is because what they're doing. I have a much longer segment that I was going to say for later, because on MSNBC, there's these two. They got this new segment they're doing, and now we have you in Rome here. I really want to watch it, at least a little bit of it, because it's a black conservative that hosting a show on MSNBC. And he invites this black liberal on. And then, like, in the premise of the show is like, hey, we are two black people who disagree on topics. And this is how black people talk about politics. But it's literally bullshit that no black people will care about. They were talking about January 6th. And then the black conservative was like, there are a lot of conservatives who are concerned with the escalating rhetoric in this country. And I'm like, where do you find these Negroes at? But the rhetoric.
Coon County. They find them at Coon County. Apparently, they have lots of places where you can get some of these people, because I mean, look at Corey. Look at Charles Booker, what he's turned into. I mean, I can't just believe I was trying to fight for that guy to get elected during his first run, and now what he has just become is just terrible. But yeah, go ahead, Nick, if you got him. Go ahead.
The message of the Democratic Party is you gotta vote for us in 2022, despite us. We didn't give you health care. We let you guys go homeless. We increase fracking, increase the
We might be
military
going to
budget.
war.
We got to vote. Everyone got to vote for us because the Republicans pose a unique threat to our democracy. That's the unserious parts of the line.
What democracy are we living under if they couldn't even deliver you those things?
Right.
He couldn't even deliver those promises. You don't live under a democracy. Y'all can try to, you know what I'm saying, twist and bend reality to an illusion all you want, but real life will always kick you in your fucking ass. I don't care how you look at it or whatever the fuck you worship or represent. Real life is gonna kick you in your ass. And Joe Biden and the Democratic Party, their message talking about violence is the answer. We know they're only saying that because they don't want the fight to be fair. Because if we start to see, you know what I'm saying, all the basically all the shit that we can get done with violence, they'd be like, holy fuck. You know what I'm saying? Now we gotta hire more cops. Yeah, that's why. Because it's gonna be hell to pay in these times when the government isn't taking care of their job. You know, the people are always gonna respond back, whether that be violent or non-violent. They're gonna get pushback, and this is why he's pushing this tough on crime bullshit. Be tough on y'all ass when y'all ready to rise up. But violence is the answer. Violence always have been the answer to all these motherfuckers. You can't tell me that, you know what I'm saying?
They use it. They said violence is not the answer, but they built their empire on violence. They maintain it through violence.
A lot of
violence not the answer, but here's some more billions for the police state. Right. Violence not the answer, but here's some more billions.
Don't resist. I'll fucking kill you.
If violence is the answer, how did Haiti win their war? I just don't understand these supposed to be leftists, you know what I'm saying? And all these fucking communists talking about, well, if we're no better than them. Yes, we are way better than them because we're not targeting, you know what I'm saying, communities with poison in the waters or shutting off the water, right? We're not targeting, you know what I'm saying, certain groups of people, black people, to fill our prisons, et cetera, you know, we are getting rid of the evil.
If you can't depend on a government to deliver clean water, what the fuck is the government existing for? You tell me that. Like, what are you here for? That is literally the very first thing in all of existence to sustain life. And you can't provide that. And this is a known problem. The problem with capitalism is they don't take care of needs unless it has a profit motive, and needs don't have profit motives. That's the problem. So eventually, this is the analysis of Marx. Eventually, all of these needs, material needs not getting met is going to get people to say this system got to go. That's the way eventually it's going to lead. I'll pass it back to one of you. Go ahead.
So what they're saying is they say democracy is under attack. Now, I'm just proposing another question to you guys. If we live in a democracy, if we wanted to vote against funding NATO in the Ukraine war, who is our vote on the ballot? Which one of these parties represent that? If we want to end U.S. support for Israel, which one of these two parties can we vote for? There's no democracy in this country. Are you guys out here?
These same Democrats take that. They take what you saying and basically laugh at you. Oh, well, we're gonna keep democracy in between us, in between our two parties. We can't give you guys, like, they don't give a fuck about democracy. They want their party to be represented at the top. They want their party to, you know what I'm saying, just do whatever. And they don't really want democracy because it really dismantle white supremacy in America. It really, you know what I'm saying, from the ranked choice voting to, you know what I'm saying, we really break down these systems. These liberals don't want shit to change. And this is why they still, you know what I'm saying, support Democrats right now. They want you dead. They want black people dead. And this is why they you know what I'm saying, they support Democrats as they are gentrifying your neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? So they won't have to come in so cutthroat. They don't have to come in so cutthroat with their message and you know what I'm saying, fuck you niggas. Get out this neighborhood. We're buying it up or whatever. They can just come in with smiles and probably toys in their hand. You probably gonna laugh with them, and they're gonna be moving you out your house all the whole way.
I have fun on calling because I love talking to people with slightly different worldview than me. And there's this guy, he's like, I love you sound good with everything. He like, I just don't like your dismissal of electoral politics, man. And I'm like, hey man, if you want to do that, that's you. That's not our game. And socialists, there's no reason for a working class movement to be invested in the fucking boutique game that they are playing with their electoral system. And I'm gonna say something that got me canceled with the progressives. Like this whole thing of they pretending that Trump is the greatest threat to our democracy because they question the legitimacy of last election. So I'll be honest. Like this is my controversial thing. Who gives a fuck? I think you're allowed to question whether you have a fair election.
That doesn't rise.
Why, guys? This
that
is where
doesn't rise to nothing.
That's
not a threshold. That doesn't rise to anything. That doesn't do anything.
So I'm not apologizing for them. I'm trying to make a comparison, right? What's a bigger threat to democracy? CJ, let's play a game. What's a bigger threat? Someone who say, "Oh, I think this election is bullshit," or the guy who's literally prosecuting journalists like Julian Assange, the guy who's literally proposing domestic terrorism bills. I feel like one is obviously a bigger threat to democracy than the person who just say, "Oh, I think this election was rigged." Or we are not allowed as a society to question what kind of fucking democracy is this? So what kind of authoritarianism is this? Go ahead, Rom. I know you want to try.
No, I'm just saying, as citizens, why are we unallowed to question authority? What kind of shit is that? Like these people just want us to go with whatever. They're like, it's never enough. Nigga, you didn't even give us none in the first place. What you talking about?
Dude, the only reason I'm bringing this up is because Democrats are like, we need to lock these people up who question the election. Locking these niggas up just for saying Donald Trump. I actually disagree. I don't think there's no evidence to show that Donald Trump won that election. And I'm a popular vote advocate. I think if you don't win a popular vote, you don't deserve to win. I hate Hillary Clinton, but Donald Trump shouldn't have won. He lost by 3 million votes. That's my position. You guys can cry about it. Yeah. I think if you should be able, whoever won the popular vote should win. So that's my position.
You know, right? When you say popular vote, when you say the expression to a foreigner, they go, "What does that mean? Popular? What other vote is there but popular vote?" Yeah, it's like that doesn't make any sense that you're calling it popular vote. But what I wanted to do is chime in on what Rome was saying about violence, because I think, or I feel like, I'm
still in
Huey Newton says the exact same thing in this. What Rome was saying. So listen to how Huey Newton describes the same thing that Rome was saying.
First of all, our position on guns and violence in general, on war in general, is one of being against war and being against violence. And this is not a changed position. If it seems in contradiction to some of my earlier statements, simply because people have not understood what I was saying in the first place. That I say that violence, war, and guns are a thing that the Black Panther Party would like to see gotten rid of. That we absolutely are against people killing each other and committing violence on each other. But also, we recognize that we don't advocate that the oppressed people, that the victims, leave themselves subject to the aggressions of the criminal. And these are the people who are forcing us to a state of subjugation and keeping us in a state of slavery. And this is the people all over the world. For instance, I'm sure the Vietnamese people would like very much for this government to give up its guns, because that would mean that the military would disarm itself and stop killing little Vietnamese children and women and destroying them. I think I stated earlier that the motto of the Panther is that we're advocates of the abolition of war. We do not want war, but war can only be abolished through war. And in order to get rid of the gun, we find it necessary to take up the gun. So the first thing to do is not to disarm the victim, but disarm the aggressor, disarm the person who's first causing the violent incidents. The United States have been visiting violence upon the world, or causing violence upon the world for years.
And that's where it cuts off. But
Yeah,
I think
like,
at the end, he kind of really brings home the point that you were making is that, yeah, we don't want violence. That's the ultimate goal. But in order to get rid of these ghouls and goblins who have all these weapons, that's what it's going to take. So that's, I think, the point that Rome was making. Go ahead.
That's perfectly said. I'll pass it right to you, Rome. But this, because I think this is what a lot of people misunderstand. A lot of people think Marxists call for violent revolution just because you want to fucking kill people. The thesis is,
maybe I do.
You don't want it. Is that the capitalists not going to let us have it without struggle? Like they will rig elections. They will commit crimes. They will do whatever it takes to maintain power, and they will do it under a barrel of a gun if they need to. But Rome, go ahead.
Yeah, like how he was saying, like, of course we don't want violence, but it doesn't take a gun to cause violence. You know, look at UK, for example. How many people get stabbed a day? Right, you take away some human weapons, they're gonna figure out other tools to hurt each other with. This isn't about the gun. You know what I'm saying? It's about, like I always tell my niggas in the hood, like, y'all be dangerous if you actually knew how to aim your gun. If you actually knew who your targets were, if you actually knew who your enemies were. And of course, we got a lot of house cleaning to do. We got a lot of our backyards and front yards to clean before we even come to the table of revolution, negotiation table for the revolution as a Black community. But in order to get there, we can't disarm them, because then what happens is we disarm our proletarian, then you try to get them all together. Now you're all together and just sitting ducks. You see, instead of being revolutionary and protecting your proletarian like how the Panthers did, you know, they had their weaponry, they had their the people to go out protest, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. They got their point across and everybody went home. But you guys nowadays, you go out, motherfuckers getting shot with rubber bullets. You guys getting gassed with illegal substances. Like, that shit wanted to fly back then. And it only fly now because you let the propaganda get in your ear and tell you that you don't need guns to protest. Now, you don't need guns to protest, but you do need something to make your point get across and say, hey, we are well protected, and I believe that our life is worth more than yours. So I am willing to be the sacrificial lamb to take you out, to take me out, to stop you from hurting them, right? And that's how we got to do it. That's how we got to look at it, because no matter how it goes, no matter when is it or what day, what time, you're going to go. And capitalism will kill you. A capitalist more likely will kill you. So be ready for the pushback. You know, if you just out here thinking shit all sweet, thinking that you can just get your point across, they sent out basically a bomb squad for a couple of scientists. What do you think they're going to do when they see 1,000 communists out there? So get your shit right.
They already use violence on people that protest. They use tear gas on them. They use agent provocateurs. They start incidents like I reported on the ground, and then they're like, "Look at these violent protesters responding to state violence. How dare them?" Now, one last thing I want to do that can wrap up the Democrats or extremist segment. I was about to do a stream while I watched the speech that Biden gave, because it was just in the background while I was doing chores around the house, and I was like, "This speech is unhinged." Like every segment, and then liberals on Twitter cheering it on. Like, this is like a hallmark Biden speech, according to MSNBC. So if ordinary decolonized mind people watch the speech, you guys listen to a psychopath. And I'm not exaggerating. I haven't heard it. Just a little bit of it, because it's like a 20-minute speech. But I time stopped it here, and we're gonna watch maybe 5 to 6 minutes of it. And then our audience, your guys' mind are decolonized. CJ, your mind decolonized. We're gonna see it. And I want you guys to realize that liberals praise this guy for giving this speech. So let's watch it, and I'll give you guys our critique. And now you're going to see the rhetoric that the Democratic Party is using. Dark Brandon rising. Jesus fucking Christ. Jesus fucking Christ. And you see, it was coordinated, right? And this speech is...
Why can't these motherfuckers just die?
This speech was designed to launch the midterm PR campaign by the Democratic Party. You can ask where the Dark Brandon rising thing come from. They were about to they chilling, not saying much about them in the spring and summer. People are starving, people are dying. We don't care. and we wait right to the midterms. Oh yeah, we got to criticize Trump now. Now, Dark Brandon rising. It's so obvious, and fucking sheep just fall for it. But here's the speech, and let me know when we pause it. I'm gonna play in like 1 minute, 90-second intervals because there's a lot to say about this.
Duty to level with you, to tell the truth, no matter how difficult, no matter how painful. And here, in my view, is what is true. MAGA Republicans do not respect the Constitution. They do not believe in the rule of law. They do not recognize the will of the people. They refuse to accept the results of a free election. And they're working right now, as I speak, in state after state, to give power to decide elections in America to partisans and cronies, empowering election deniers to undermine democracy itself. MAGA forces are determined to take this country backwards to an America where there is no right to choose, no right to privacy, no right to contraception, no right to marry who you
want. Can we pause this for a bit, dog? Because you see, you look, it's gonna be a cycle. It's gonna be a cycle. This is gonna cause a domino effect. You see how it is that American politicians or presidents are the only ones who punch down on the fucking citizens. They really tried to split you people up, call you got nicknames for you, and guess what's going to happen? After he's done with the MAGAs, he's going to come for the socialists, he's going to come for the communists, he's going to come for the liberals, and anybody else who isn't on board or in their fucking in their class. What was that saying? They came for the socialists. I didn't say something because I was a blah blah. They came for the, and this is what this is. And you guys gonna, I'm telling you, you know what I'm saying? Y'all motherfuckers churn this shit on now. And then when shit really hits the fan, you're gonna be like, oh my God, I can't believe Joe Biden shitted on me. And you was, nigga, you under his asshole with his pants down. You can't believe he shitted on you. What's wrong with you? But anyway.
Yeah, because as you guys see, we're only 1 minute in, and Joe Biden is unhinged. And I know there's some colonized brains who maybe watched this who wonder what my issue was with what he said there, where he was like, MAGA Republicans are a threat to our democracy. MAGA Republicans don't believe in our Constitution. Excuse me, sir. There's one of us that is using the Espionage Act. There's one of us is prosecuting Julian Assange. One of us have a party that's trying to kick a third-party candidates off the ballot. And look at what his accusation there was. The accusation there was, oh, these people are denying the election. Once again, they get mad at me all you want, but my response to that is fucking so. Where do you guys disagree on? And this is the analysis part of this before I go back to speech. Throughout the course of this speech, and this is why I'm talking about this, it's not only the media pushing this rhetoric, Biden gives the speech to give the impression that there are two Americas, that there are people that are split. The working class are split, so you shouldn't organize with the conservatives and Republicans because they're too far gone. And it gives the illusion that the ruling class are actually fighting against each other. They all voted for Ukraine. Only one Republican, Rand Paul.
Right.
He's the only Republican who voted against it. So why are you guys pretending? All you guys voted for PPP loan forgiveness. All you guys voted for police funding. All you guys are voting for Israel apartheid state funding. Why the hell are all of them are against China and they want to escalate tensions against China? Where's the disagreement? You guys see where they're making this shit up? That's why I said my thesis, they manufacturing this divide. If you talk to ordinary workers, we agree. And then all the ruling class, they agree. The point is, it's a class war. Stop focusing on electoral politics. Let's play a little bit more of this clip. So now you guys see how Biden continues his straight up projection. That's why I was listening to this in the background. I was like, the whole thing is projection. Everything he accused. When he goes after MAGA, especially on abortion and stuff like that, I'm not saying he's lying about them. Like when he criticized MAGA, he probably telling the truth about them. My point is everything he's saying is a projection. So we only watch a few more minutes and then we get to the main story of the day. We watch a few more minutes. We don't have to watch the whole thing, but because the whole thing is just bullshit. It's a lot of him Just sum up the speech. A
Like
lot
a
of him
typical
saying,
presidential.
he like
a
hey,
typical presidential speech is pretty lies and filled with lies and rhetoric and bullshit.
Yeah, CJ, I'm gonna sum the speech up for you guys. Biden, the first part of the speech is him. That's what I'm playing right now. Hey, yo, guys, half the country, everyone who disagree with me, they're evil as shit. They're evil as shit, okay? And they disagree with me, they're evil. The second point of the speech was, hey, don't listen to your lying ears. Don't believe your lying eyes. You know that pain you're feeling? The economic pain? Nah, bullshit. Them polls, they sound unpopular, bullshit. So that the speech summed up. Let's just watch a few more minutes, and I give you guys a reaction, and then we get back to the next story.
They promote authoritarian leaders, and they fan the flames of political violence that are a threat to our personal rights, to the pursuit of justice, to the rule of law, to the very soul of this country. They look at the mob that stormed the United States Capitol on January 6th, brutally attacking law enforcement, not as insurrectionists who placed a dagger at the throat of our democracy, but they look at them as patriots. And they see their MAGA failure to stop a peaceful transfer of power after the 2020 election as preparation for the 2022 and 2024 elections. They tried everything last time to nullify the votes of 81 million people. This time, they're determined to succeed in thwarting the will of the people. That's why respected conservatives like Federal Circuit Court Judge Michael Ludwig has called Trump and the extreme MAGA Republicans, quote, a clear and present danger to our democracy.
Now that is the rhetoric that they want you to have. Like if they are a Trump supporter, they are your enemy. It's not a class war. If they don't vote blue, they're bad. If they vote blue, we're good. Now look who plays along with this. And you will notice this is the coordinated message by Democrats. This is why there are a lot of people who say, and I love these people that are like, oh, like, dude, you criticize me, you're a fucking Democrat. They're like, well, I'm not a good Democrat. Like, we vote for AOC and Justice Democrats? Well, yeah, well, you're a Democrat then. Yeah. They all Democrats. If you support the Justice Democrats, you can't do this thing where you pretend you're not one of them. So here's Bernie Sanders. Because a lot of people ask why I go after Bernie Sanders. Because a lot of people go after AOC. And let me be real. If you're one of the people that go after AOC instead of Bernie Sanders, it's kind of cowardly. Because she's the easy target, right? Easy to go after her. But everything that AOC's doing that Bernie's been doing too, guys. So he deserves just as much ire as AOC's been getting. Now, let me show you guys what Bernie's been saying. Progressives are fighting against corporate Democrats. A few of them lost. And they're focusing on Russia, Ukraine, January 6th, AOC live tweeting this. Look, Bernie Sanders, the threat to our democracy could not be clearer. We must act boldly to protect it. He tweeted this right after the speech. So you guys see how Bernie's there to prop up this narrative that this election is about democracy. No, hey, Bernie, shouldn't it be about healthcare? No, it's about democracy. Okay? Hey, Biden said all this. Biden not accomplishing none of his progressive campaign promises. I mean, it's doing.
I mean, Nick, how are we supposed to focus on getting you health care if we don't have a democracy? They have nothing else to run on.
First.
They have nothing. They have nothing else to run on. They can't run on reproductive rights anymore. They can't run on all that Black Lives Matter. All that shit is out the window. This is the last thing. And not only this, we see the petrodollar is falling, and a lot of people is replacing America with a lot of other superpowers. So, hey, it's really the fall in this motherfucker. They ain't losing democracy. They losing power across the world.
They love George W. Bush now. And they say, well, George W. Bush, I know we had disagreements, but at least he was decent. That motherfucker literally stole the 2000 election. Like, he literally stole an election. He succeeded in the thing they accused Trump of doing. But they love him now. But that can write that
like the Twilight Zone. This shit is like the Twilight Zone with this, like, just spin. Like, when I saw Dick Cheney on a freaking commercial with his cowboy hat, I said, this shit is ridiculous. I'm like,
Robert Wright, the guy in the thumbnail.
I thought he was dead.
Did Robert Wright write an op-ed? No, that was about Liz Cheney. No,
Liz Cheney. He's
Liz
pumping up
Cheney.
Liz Cheney. So let's move to that next segment. Let me
I'm
bring
done
that
with
up.
segment.
So
I'm
this,
off that super chat.
yeah, let's move to the main segment, which is the white Misleadership class. Now, we're gonna bring to you the black Misleadership class, but I think that needs a whole like show because we really gonna go in on the black Misleadership class. So first, we're gonna do the white Misleadership class and cut this as a segment. So what were you saying though, Nick? If you wanted to kind of,
I was about to read this super chat before we move on.
Go ahead.
I'm done with that segment. That's
yeah,
good.
go ahead.
Thank you for $5. X64. The Supreme Court and super delegates can literally choose the president. January 6th, don't even compare. Look at Bernie Sanders' priorities. They literally stole the election from him, and he should have sued them after the Iowa app thing, make it a story, and they decide not to. So you had the Democrat Party literally stealing the election from him. I don't give a fuck because they're screwing my supporters. I don't give a fuck about my supporters. I know you guys donated to us. I quit my job to candidate for them. I know you guys putting blood, sweat, and tears for our movement, but I don't really give a shit. Yep. You guys see when Trump and the right lose, they think they're like, no, they screwed us. Bernie's like, I don't really give a shit. I don't really give a shit. But then, whenever they question Jim Crow Joe and the neoliberal, that's when Bernie's like, oh, now it's personal. You can screw my supporters all you want. If you challenge Jim Crow Joe, oh hell no,
my friend Joe,
my good friend Joe.
That's when he tweets this out. Like, he didn't tweet this out. That's the most funny thing. Well, he didn't tweet this out when the DNC literally stole the election from him. When they literally had the shadow app and they said Pete Buttigieg. When did he tweet this out when they said Pete Buttigieg won Iowa? No, it's only to defend Joe Biden. Sorry, guys.
That's sad. It's sad. It's sad to me to see what Bernie Sanders just has become, and it's even more sad for the people that still are down with that shit. Because if you think 10 months ago, I was still rah Bernie, but I'm not no more. Like evidence is in front of your face. Like, how many times are you gonna keep saying, "But he's still Bernie"? But he woke me up. What? Okay,
like in the 60s and
wake you up,
days,
and now he's not that anymore. But I came across this interview.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, it's from the podcast called The Insurgents. It's a small podcast, actually. The video, actually, it's 2 months old, and the video only had like 25 views. So it's a very, very small podcast, and that's probably why it didn't pop up in other searches. But I came across this podcast, and I listened to most of it, and I almost was like, man, this is not going to be that great, until it got close to the end, like at the 48-minute mark. And the video was like less than 60 minutes, right? And then this is where you start to hear just the nonsense. So it's about 5 minutes long. This is stop and starting. So we're going to stop and start this. But before we do, please like this stream. The last time I checked, we were something at like 185 likes. Let me see if we can push that. We have 330 some odd viewers. Can we push that to 300 likes? That'll get a lot more people in the chat, and hopefully we can get some people on the other side and get some counter arguments to what we're going to be saying, so we can have a real lively discussion. Oh, we're at 196 likes. We got 354 people watching. Can we push another 100? Let's get to 300 likes, and now let's get into the stream. Anytime you want me to stop, just let me say, hey, stop it. I'll stop the video.
Like the kind of progressive wing trying to challenge the power centers in the Democratic Party.
Hang on, let me set it up a little more. So where I find it interesting is where it's on, you see on the graphic here. I'll put the graphic up. The question is, do you still believe progressive can take over the Democratic Party? That is the question that we're going to be examining and where they're going to be talking about here. So let's listen.
As someone who's been in the middle of these fights in terms of like the kind of progressive wing trying to challenge the power centers in the Democratic Party, and this whole strategy of running progressive candidates into the Democratic Party in order to get them elected and to eventually kind of take over the party and to kind of reorient it in this more progressive direction. I know you're still kind of excited about this prospect, but do you still believe, like fundamentally, that it's possible to
I wouldn't say I'm
orient
excited about it. But...
but do you still believe that it's possible to actually democratically reorient the Democratic Party into that more progressive direction to kind of wrestle power away from the establishment? You know, I talked about all these really important issues, like in Don't Look Up, the climate crisis, even this kind of gradual process of running candidates into the Democratic Party. We're still talking about a multi-years long project in order to even get to the idea of possibly gaining power. Ultimately, do you think this is enough to...
Okay, multi-year problem. So this is where the class divide comes in, Nick and Ron, where we have discussed on multiple streams, where JB has said, I'm in this situation with my housing. I don't have multiple years. I'm in this situation with my health. I don't have multiple years. Right. But that's where the question. He clearly says that. Now, David Sirota is going to contradict himself in the interview on this particular point. And when he does, I'll point it out for us.
To deal with the crises that America's facing, or do you think there needs to be more?
I'm not sure it's multi-year in the sense that I think one thing recent history has proved.
He's not sure it's multi-year though now. And then later in the interview, he says, I've been doing this all my life. And yes, it kind of looks like it's been unsuccessful. Nick, sorry, I didn't mean to say that while you was drinking something. He almost spit it up. But yes, he says that in the same 5-minute interview that we're playing here. But let's listen.
Is proved is that things can change very fast.
You know, I want an Oscar in between.
I'm not sure it's multi-year, but yes, it's not an easy slog. Look, I am in many ways tactically agnostic, and I think people get hung up on, can the Democratic Party get remoored, changed, or do we need a third party? And frankly, I find one of the most annoying kinds of folks out there are the people who say, oh, both parties are corrupt.
Now he's describing us right here.
Yep. He talking
so
shit.
Listen carefully. He's describing us. But let me kind of zero in on what I wrote down here about tactically agnostic. The professional managerial class does this all the time, where they create new terms, new phrasing to describe something. What is tactically agnostic? Because the tactic of overthrowing this system doesn't seem to fall under your classification of technically agnostic. Because if you're agnostic, that means you don't care.
Yeah.
So, but anytime to the overthrow the system comes up, he always, becomes a deaf ear.
It's another version of saying nihilist, essentially.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Remember when they were trying to call us nihilists? These people are the biggest defeatists. These people, after Bernie Sanders lost, their ideology after that was like, oh, we must assimilate within the Democratic Party, take crumbs, and beg for them to give us just measly crumbs. On the other hand, Rome, CJ, JB, Sabby, us with revolutionary discipline, we said, fuck that shit. We should be fighting for more. We should be getting each other. Who's the people with real optimism? The real nihilists are the people who rely on the politicians. And then whenever their party loses, whenever there's a red wave, then why you guys think we don't give a shit about that? Whenever that happens, they're like, oh my God, woe is us, woe is me. Donald Trump won. They was like, woe is us, it's over. Our democracy is over. Meanwhile, we're like, let's organize. Let's be optimistic. They're the biggest nihilists. That's why what David Sirota is saying here is essentially just a rebranding of that. Technical, what was it again? Tactically
agnostic.
Jeez, look at these managerial class fucks.
These niggas got all kind of ways to tell you that they don't give a fuck about you. They got so many names to tell you that they don't give a fuck. Like, why just say that? Like, oh, I just don't give a fuck. I'm just making this a living. This is just a living for me. That's what the fuck I heard, because, dude, you are literally saying people can hold off when we have people dying, man. Daily, children in America starving to death, and you talking about, oh well, it's gonna be like this until, like, no. And this is why we shouldn't take these people serious, because they paid to say dumb shit like that. I know he paid to say dumb shit like that. Ain't no way.
And this is what makes them the misleadership class. It's because this is the lane they have, where they know how to critique the issue 100% to the T and say exactly the right thing. But David, let me ask you this question. what's the use of your reporting on the corruption of the Democratic Party if all you do is tell people to go back and vote for them? You see how that devalues your work? It devalues yeah, exactly. It devalues your reporting. You say they're corrupt, but let's go ahead and try to beat this
let me give you guys another example of nihilism. Another example of nihilism. We had a third-party summit just to discuss the idea of what it would mean to have an oppositional third party that is proletariat based. And then whenever someone mentioned a third party to the boutique motherfuckers like David Schroeder, they're like, "Oh my god, that would never work. There's no reason."
He's gonna talk about it.
Meanwhile, we're the nihilists. They would say stuff like, "We must vote for corruption." And there's no point of trying to build up a third party because it won't work. They're the biggest nihilists in politics. Because at least the people that vote blue believe they're doing it for good. At least the people who vote red believe they're doing it for good. The progressives that vote blue, they're like, "Man, I know I'm voting for a piece of shit, but what's the fucking point?"
And the biggest fallacy is because once they see third-party candidates actually getting on these ballots, they fight against them. If not, they don't have them on their shows like Revolutionary Blackout, Sabby do. You know what I'm saying? Come on now. They don't say anything about it. They don't push for these people or nothing. They don't give a fuck.
Let's listen a little more because he speaks to this point that we're bringing up right here. Let's listen to what he says about it.
And anybody who thinks changing the Democratic Party is a worthy goal or can even be done is an idiot. And I'm a smart person because I vote third party. Listen, I am tactically agnostic. I'm about results. What's the fastest way to deal with climate change? What's the fastest fucking way?
Listen to this, how he's contradicting himself. He's about results, but he's going through the Democratic Party.
So what results can they give us that anything has changed for the better within his 20 years of being in politics? What results can he give us?
I'm just trying to say, how many times has Nick, you had the numbers, you've tweeted out the numbers, how the black community is less well off now financially, home ownership, everything, wealth is less than when the civil rights movement. It's gone backwards. Go ahead.
Play the video. I'll make the point because I'm gonna make a point that this proves his main thesis, right? But I'll let the video play a little bit more.
Let me play some more.
Democratic Party is a worthy goal or can even be done is an idiot. And I'm a smart person because I vote third party. Listen, I am tactically agnostic. I'm about results. What's the fastest way to deal with climate change? What's the fastest fucking way to deal with the comet, right? If that means a third party can win, great. If that means changing the Democratic Party is faster, great. If that means both those things at the same time, great. I think we're stuck with in a system right now that preferences a two-party system.
I don't like the framing. Let me just say this and replay it. Like the framing is, can we get a third party who can win? But the framing is not, can we get a Democrat who can win? You get it? It's just, can we vote for the Democrats? But the threshold for the third party is can win. And that's the part we have to stop letting these people frame the conversation, because they're only framing it through electoralism. Because it's not about winning with the third party. It's about extracting enough from these corporate parties where we can extract some demands. That's what it's about, not winning, but they keep framing it that way.
I am tactically agnostic. I'm about results. What's the fastest way to deal with climate change? What's the fastest fucking way to deal with the comet?
I don't know. That means I gotta say this because this nigga, he getting too uppity for me, bro. Like, who the fuck he think he talking to though? You know what I'm saying? Who the fuck you think you cussing at, bro? You not dumb. You're not dumb. You seen what Biden did the first week? 16 new fracking permits, right? That was his first fucking week in the office. Look what they just did with this new bill. How much land they just... So what is the fastest way to deal with climate change? There isn't the Democratic Party at all, because they are the reasons why we are here today. What the fuck is you talking about? Who are you talking to like that?
You're like, I'm edgy. I'm hip.
Check yourself.
He's like, I'm edgy. I'm hip. Look. Fuck. F-bomb. Fuck. I'm hip. Fuck.
You better chill the fuck out, boy. You ain't with that shit.
Listen.
If that means changing the Democratic Party is faster, great. If that means both those things at the same time, great. I think we're stuck with in a system right now that preferences a two-party system, and the two parties basically suck. And I don't buy that people are more enlightened or smarter or more pure who say, I'm never going to vote for a Democrat no matter what, because both parties are corrupt.
Because when he says that, like, bro, no one says that. Like, I don't go on my show like, I'm smarter than all you motherfuckers. I'm very humble. I'm like, yo, these are just my opinions through my life experience. He like, all you people that think you can work outside the Democrat Party, you guys think you're so much smarter than us. Like,
we are.
You didn't say that. That's just you.
That is a guilt complex. That is a guilt complex. That is a guilt complex because nobody ever says that. Nobody ever puts it in that framing, but that is a complete.
But I do though. We are better than you. We are better. we are better humans. We are better humans as a whole. From getting people out of this Democratic Party, from getting people from you know what I'm saying, not paying attention to these distractions, getting them on the fucking ground, using the resources for their fucking communities. We are better than you. We don't give these war criminals power. We don't. We are better than you.
I agree. We are better. Let's listen.
Voting is not a religious fucking experience.
This is the part when you were talking, Nick, I was trying to remember. This is the reason why the PMC class is starting to use this line. We saw Sam Cedar use it too. Voting not an expression of what you want, because they know they're voting for the Democratic Party. You see how they have to give themselves a moral out by describing voting that way? That is exactly what voting is. Voting is to go to the booth to express that you want the person that fits your values. That is exactly what voting is. But you see how the PMC class, professional, let me put it on the screen for those that may not, after that, I'll put it on the screen, that may not know, but professional managerial class, this is the reason why they're creating this thing of, it's not an expression of who you are or what you want and what you are. But let's listen to this part and listen to his tone, how he gets real like petty and edgy.
Are more enlightened or smarter or more pure, who say, I'm never going to vote for a Democrat no matter what, because both parties are corrupt. Voting is not a religious fucking experience, right? It's not an experience of self-expression. If you think voting is self-expression, you don't, frankly, in my view, you don't really understand.
Isn't that the literal definition of a democracy?
Oh, Jesus.
Voting is your self-expression, your choice. That's like literally what the essence of democracy is. The expression of your values, your choice. But that's not what it is anymore, because they have to make up some new lane to fit what they are. Because we keep calling them out as fake people. You get what I'm saying? We keep calling them out as fake, and it's like, no, we're not fake. Don't think you're better than us. Don't think you're better than us. Okay?
So I'm gonna let him continue his meltdown, and I'll destroy his argument in a few sentences.
Okay.
And the system you're living in. Voting is one way to try to get what you want. So when you go and vote in a general election and you're faced with a white nationalist fascist versus a shit Democrat, I don't think that's not an enjoyable choice. But the system isn't giving you an enjoyable choice, and in that particular situation,
hold on, let's see how you stop there. I can't even get through this shit. I might have to walk off and let this shit play out, because this nigga just trying to frame. You see how you had to think about it? How can I frame Trump versus Biden? Because both of them are nationalists, both of them are fucking fascists, both of them aren't fucking is. What are you talking about, bro? All of these people agree on a major, like Nick was just describing earlier. All of these people agree when it comes to the major things. So what the hell is you talking about? They literally voted for Jim Crow Joe, man. Like, you couldn't get no worse than that.
Bro, Joe Biden, the famous anti-racist, the famous tree hugger, the famous. The people pretend that we don't know who this guy was. Fuck out of here. Go ahead.
Completely unserious.
This meltdown was hilarious. Like, this is a complete. The last 30 seconds has been glorious. The last 30 seconds has been a meltdown.
Let's listen.
Voting is one way to try to get what you want. So when you go and vote in a general election and you're faced with a white nationalist fascist versus a shit Democrat, I don't think that's not an enjoyable choice. But the system isn't giving you an enjoyable choice. And in that particular situation, you have to try to make a moral choice inside of an immoral system, right? And
let me make this point because I have this written down. David loves to use the morality clause when arguing this point with Democrats. Like it's a moral thing. But isn't the moral choice here to overthrow a system that keeps producing choices like this? Isn't that the moral choice? And I'll put that to Nick and Rome just to briefly answer. What do you think? Isn't that the moral choice?
You took the words right out my mouth. Like, what is the use to having a system like this if this is all that they can produce for the people? You know what I'm saying? To vote for, like, knowing that we need better leaders. Not even better leaders, man. We need we just need a new system. But he don't want to get to that because this system is what got him where he's at today. Got him his house, his nice house, his recognition, his Grammy, Oscar, whatever the fuck he got. You know, it put him where he's at today. So he's not willing to actually challenge capital like a lot of these white liberals are. They won't challenge capital, and this is why they get mad at the tankies and start going after us because we are the only ones who would challenge capital and challenge leadership as a whole. You know what I'm saying? It isn't broken down. They try to break us apart and Black Lives Matter, and then they're doing the gay rights and blah blah. We're gonna no, we fighting for everything, every fucking thing. And this is what socialism, communism does, and unionship. This is why America and the governments push so hard against you guys unionizing and your fucking and your jobs. They don't want you guys to be friends, et cetera, et cetera. But man, fuck David, man. He rich, he laid back, sipping champagne in the sun. He don't give a fuck about y'all.
Look at his perspective and look how it differs from ours, where he's an institutionalist, CJ. Where he said, well, look at the choices that the system gives us. Are you going to complain about the system? Hey, this is what the system gave us. They gave us a shit Democrat. They gave us a fascist Republican. Hey, what are you going to do? This is the analysis of someone of the upper class, where they truly believe in the institutions. So they're not even going to hint towards options that go outside of that. So they scoff at us building mutual aid societies, us building militias, us building third parties, us relying on ballot initiatives instead of politicians. They scoff at that because they truly are institutionalists, where they only will work within the confine that the capitalist system gave us. But go ahead, CJ.
And if you know in your heart that third-party infrastructure in that particular race hasn't been built, and that thus voting for a third party is incinerating your vote. And
so this is the part about third parties that he's saying. You hear what he's saying. You see? All those who think he's like us and wants democracy, listen to what he's saying about third-party voting.
Structure in that particular race hasn't been built. And
I got to go back a little further. My bad, everybody. Right here.
An immoral system, right? And if you know in your heart that third-party infrastructure in that particular race hasn't been built, and that thus voting for a third party is incinerating your vote and arguably helping the fascists, then doing that as a point of self-expression on your supposed purity is, in my view, I mean, you're welcome to do what you want. In my view, that's not a good decision. Because
you see how he has to disconnect the process of voting for the Democrats away from who you really are. You see how he's trying to disconnect that. But let me say this, because he's about to say another part, and I want to.
He basically did that. No offense, but I'm about to offend you. He's like, in my opinion, you guys like, no. If this is your opinion, you wouldn't be saying this in the first place. What the fuck are you talking about?
Actually, let me let him say it first, and then I'll comment. I won't preface it
because you're mixing up what the voting experience is and is not. I think if there's going to be a third party in this country, a lot of work needs to go into actually building it and building it in the.
You see, we keep allowing electoralist. That's what he is, to drive the conversation about third parties, and the third parties having to win with candidates. That is not the point initially of third parties is to extract away enough people in order to make the two corporate parties bow to some demands. That is the first step, in my opinion, for third parties, not winning. And then here's the second point. You will never get to where a third party wins until you go through those years of third parties losing, but you're building it up. You'll never get there. You see how it's a goal that you
actually
never
fighting. Actually,
go ahead.
You actually have to give a fuck about these things that you say that you give a fuck about, right? Then you're gonna actually have to fight, and you have to actually call out them people that are his friends. You know what I'm saying? Whether he's in in some type of fucking a C-level celebrity circle somewhere, he got to get rid of his friends or whatever, right? Man,
yeah,
these people they not serious.
Like
they
his
don't
friends,
talk about us, bro.
His friends at Breaking Points, they just add more and more white people. I'm gonna do a segment on that though.
This motherfucker literally
it's like a left channel that keep adding white people, and we're like, oh, we're left. Really? We're like, where is the? You're not getting different perspective. That's what I'm saying. And what I mean, I don't know her name, but the Republican girl from Rising with the glasses, blonde girl, she'll be coming on. They do terrible numbers.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, we're getting a group that's great and we're bringing them to our. Why are you bringing them? What are they doing? But anyway, let's save that for another stream because that shit is ridiculous. But let's listen to more.
The least glamorous places, not at the presidential level, but winning city council races, winning state legislative races. And I think there's coalition models where you've got DSA endorsing Democratic candidates. You've got the Working Families Party that goes into coalition, sometimes goes into opposition with the Democratic Party. Yep. And I think people who get hung up on, it goes back to this tactics and values thing, this idea that it's a fool's errand and everybody's impure and a terrible person for even thinking that it's worthwhile to try to change the Democratic Party. I just reject that. And I think it's narcissistic and I think it's bullshit. and
narcissistic. The things they just they just add whatever the fuck they want. They make up whatever the fuck they want, man.
And I similarly think that anybody who thinks that honest to goodness, real third party building.
You notice how he has to put that caveat, honest to good and real.
What's real? Selling out?
You know
don't
how
trust
he
the
has
workers.
To put that. Yeah.
Don't trust the workers.
That's what he has to put.
To try to push the Democratic Party to be better and to try to put up alternatives to the Democratic Party. I think anybody who thinks that is unacceptable is too tribal to think clearly about what the goal of politics really should be.
You're talking about tribal, but you want everybody to vote for your goddamn tribe. Right. What you talking about?
It doesn't make any sense.
Just to get good policy that saves us from these emergencies. So to go back to your question, do I think the Democratic Party can be reformed? Yes, no. I think it can be reformed. Can it be reformed fast enough to deal with the crises we face?
You want to get Ginger?
I don't know. Will it be hard to reform the Democratic Party? Absolutely. I've been at it for my whole life. It hasn't been a pleasant process. And arguably it hasn't been successful. There have been success in fits and starts. But just because it's difficult doesn't mean it can't happen. Right? No one said this was going to be easy.
I'm going to replay that part now.
You know he doesn't say that. He knows he doesn't say that about general strikes and third parties. He's like, I know it's not gonna be easy. I know we gotta grit. I know we gotta have a lot of grit.
Right. How come he didn't say that about third parties?
He didn't say that about general strikes.
Tony, you said he got issues. No, this is his problem. He don't have issues. He don't have any issues in life, and this is why he has no sense of urgency to actually push for a third party or even push the voices that's out there that's fighting hard for a third party against his establishment that's so-called holding up democracy. That's democracy in your eyes, kicking off third parties. Fuck out of here, man. I'm tired of these white people, man. Get them on their nerve.
That's his own argument. He was like, oh, don't focus on third parties. That's stupid. But we got to, making the Democratic Party progressive, all we got to do is to sacrifice. And we work really hard. I don't think it's possible, but we believe in anything. And we believe in the power of friendship. We can get it done. But we go third party or anything else that is outside the system. Remember, he's an institutionalist. Anything outside that, he just calls it like, oh my God, why would you even consider that? When it comes to reforming the Democratic Party, like, you got to take Hail Marys. Hell, sometimes you got to take shots, man. You never know. You never know, man.
That's so true.
Urgencies. So to go back to your question, do I think the Democratic Party can be reformed? Yes, I think it can be reformed. Can it be reformed fast enough to deal with the crises we face? I don't know.
Now he knows the question. He knows the answer to that.
He knows
the answer. He knows the answer to that. But you see how he's trying to be coy with that, but he wants to be forceful with other answers.
Will it be hard to reform the Democratic Party? Absolutely. I've been at it for my whole life. It hasn't been a pleasant process.
Yeah, I ain't wasting my motherfucking
He's been at it for his whole life. But all of a sudden now he doesn't know if it's going to take multi-years. Remember earlier he said multi-years? Oh, I don't know if it's going to take multi-years. But he's been at it his whole life.
Oh, I'm dying.
Okay.
He really
could have built the damn
arguably it
third
hasn't
party,
been successful.
already
There have been
had.
success in fits and starts. But just because it's difficult doesn't mean it can't happen, right? No one said this was going to be easy, you know, and I would argue that the easy way out is to say, you know what, nothing can be done. Nobody can do anything. And anybody who tries to do anything.
No, the easy way out is picking the Democratic Party over revolution. That's the easy way out.
Is an idiot. That's basically, well, why don't you just kill yourself, right? Like if nothing matters at all, then what are you even doing?
Nobody said nothing matters, and this is why we are voting third party, you fucking idiot. This is why people are voting third party. This is why people are moving to revolution, because everything fucking matters, and you guys have no sense of urgency. You influencers for the Democratic Party is nothing but mouthpieces. The leaders is nothing but mouthpieces for the establishment on top of them. We get nothing at the bottom, and this is why people just getting the fuck on. You know, it ain't about like you only feel that way because this is going to stop your hustle. This is going to slow down all that shit that you build, your empire. People start waking up. They stop, joining the Democratic Party and start looking at you like what you are, a Democratic shield.
Listen to this nihilist. Guys.
And your movie sucked.
This nihilist was like, hey, man, we can't take over the Democratic Party. What's the point of this? If we can't take over the Democratic Party, you might well kill yourself. Fuck it.
What? And he's and we're the nihilists.
That's essentially what he's saying. He said, if you don't have something you can believe in, if you really don't believe in take over the Democratic Party, might well fucking kill yourself. That's essentially what he's saying.
You know what? Let me say this. I think he'll say the point, but he's taking too long to bring up the point. I don't want to forget this point. The more and more I've been thinking about it and analyzing this, you know how when people say, oh, I think we need to at all fronts, we need to be doing at all fronts. And I no longer think that. If all fronts includes, or when they say, oh, you should use every tool in your toolbox, if one of the tools is voting for the Democratic Party, that is not good. Because it is a net negative, because it draws so much energy away from the other things that can be getting done. So to me, participating in electoral politics, when they say, oh, why don't we do multi-prong? No, multi-prong will not work if your primary prong is electoralism. Because think of this, who are you teaming up with? Aren't you teaming up with some capitalists? So how are you going to get the other avenues done? How are you going to do a revolution if you're teaming up with capitalists? This is why I'm saying it can't be. So this whole idea that we, like, not we as in the three of us specifically, that yes, let's just do both. Let's do this, direct action. And no, because electoralism is a net negative.
Yep.
A net negative. So go ahead if you wanted to chime in.
Let's finish the video. Now I want to make my point to that. That will just like this whole meltdown. It's been hilarious. It's been like a 4-minute meltdown, and
yeah,
it's easy to pick apart. But I'll let the video finish first.
It's just cynicism.
It is.
It's cynicism.
And I get where it comes from, but you can't let yourself conclude that nothing at all can be done. I mean, I think there's a slim chance that the kind of transformative change we need to happen can be done. I agree with that. But I just think like reforming the Democratic Party is one of many avenues to get change. Coalition building with outside pressure groups, DSA, WFP, is another union order in the workplace.
DSA and WFP, aren't they Democrats?
Yes.
So what is he? You see the psyop this fool is doing?
That's another way. Honest to goodness, third party building. I think can be worthwhile as well. I'm like an all of the above person. So and just because I'll conclude by saying this, just because I'm all of the above, it doesn't mean like I'm dumb or stupid. I mean, maybe I am dumb and stupid. I don't know, or naive. But like, I don't think it means I'm dumb to think that we should try to be doing all of these things, and that and I don't think it's dumb to think that somebody is not more pure or better or more enlightened for thinking their tactic is better than other tactics. Like, they're just tactics. Maybe we should do them all.
Definitely.
So a tactic that's the end of the interview. A tactic that you've been doing for literally decades, by your words, all your life, that hasn't worked. We shouldn't be mad and criticizing that tactic. It's completely unserious to me, Nick and Rome. But that is the end of the clip. So you can take that out.
Yeah. Let me add this, because this destroys his entire philosophy, and we discussed this before when Sam Cedar says essentially the same thing. Like, it's almost like they float these talking points in a big group DM somewhere. Literally the exact same thing where he had the same smug, condescending voice because he's a rich prick talking down to workers, where he's like, "Oh, well, you guys think voting is your values? Do you guys think voting is you picking your enemy? It's not you. It's not an expression of yourself." And they say in a mocking term.
Yeah.
And I'm asking you guys this question: who benefits from this ideology? Do the working class benefit from this ideology, or do the ruling class benefit from this ideology? Now, it is a fact that the ruling class uses your vote as a stamp of approval and as leverage, whether you like it or not. So when they say stuff like, "Oh, we had to vote for Joe Biden, we had to vote for a Democratic Party because they were the lesser of two evils," it is the opposite. So you had black people in this country that led one of the largest civil disobedient protests in decades. So in response to that, the Biden administration, they was calling for police reform, defund the police. In response to that, Joe Biden now proposing a crime bill 2.0. Now he adding 100,000 police, despite the black community protesting law enforcement. And then Jen Psaki was asked about this back when she was press secretary, and she was like, "You had Black Lives Matter who supported you. You had a lot of young people who supported you, and you guys are increasing the police budgets. Why are you guys doing this?" And they say, "Well, we ran like Joe Biden did." And this is what I was warning people about. Joe Biden ran on increasing the police budget.
Yes.
So then he said, "Well, you guys voted for me, so I'm fulfilling my mandate to the people." So David Schroeder's and Sam Cedar's analysis on voting is far off. Your vote is giving them a mandate. So if Joe Biden run as a warmongering right-winger like he did, he's going to say, "Oh, well, you guys voted for me. Why should we change?" So then you know what they do because they want to win? They look at who didn't vote for them. You want to know who didn't vote for them? White women. Despite the rhetoric, white women voted for Trump 2 elections in a row. They're like, Trump is the Democrats are the party of women. No, well, white women already chose their side. It's black women, Latino women, Muslim women, they weren't voting against Republicans. So the Democrats know this. So Democrats see that they have to win the votes of the suburban white. Right. So what do you do if you realize that the black people vote for you at around an 80 to 85% clip? They're like, "Oh shit, that vote is won. We don't have to do anything for them no more. We might as well win over the Amy Klobuchars, the Amy Coopers." So you run on what? Tough on crime.
Yep.
You run on the police. You run on stuff like democracy. You run on stuff like civility politics. Meanwhile, you're funding genocides, but you know Karens in suburbia, they don't give a fuck. Joe Biden and Israel be buying Palestine. They're like, "We gonna be all." They don't give a fuck. Ukraine, we spend $1 billion in Ukraine. Them white people in suburbia like, that's who they winning over. So my point is, by voting for these people, you're not voting for the lesser two evils. You're actually doing harm to the community and giving the green light to the capitalists and to the imperialists that what they're doing, the crimes, not a big deal, not a red line. They think David Schroeder and Jake Uger, this is my last thing I'm saying, I'll pass it to you guys. They think that even though they vote blue, if they just have a show and they on their show, they go out there and say, "Oh, Joe Biden is a meanie. Joe Biden's a liar." They think that Democrats see them like, "Oh man, he voted for us. He got criticism, so you know what, I'm gonna win this person over." No, they're like, "Oh, you already voted for me. I don't give a fuck." They don't give a fuck. They don't get. They could not care less. They don't care what you say about them as long as you go in the booth and vote for that blue box. That's all they care about. So voting literally loses the leverage of the working class. What we need is a hostile working class movement outside the system. That is why what CJ said is on point. If third parties win, that is amazing. That is brilliant. But the function of a third party is having a hostile movement to our imperial core that challenges capitalism through organization of the proletariat. And then if you just happen to want to vote for them, because legalizing marijuana is on the ballot in Missouri this election. I'm like, don't vote for Democrat or Republican, but let's use direct ballot initiatives. But imagine there was a communist on the ticket. Imagine there's someone doing tour reporting that would just so happen to be on there. Like, I don't give a fuck. When they vote for legalized marijuana, they vote for the person organizing your community. Who gives a fuck about the election? Who gives a fuck who wins? We have a hostile working class movement, and then that third party grows because when we do stuff like tour for the poor, people see, oh, it's the socialists who fed us. It was this party who fed us. It's these people who care about us. It's these people who don't care about the tribalist divide. And then your third party, your outside coalition grows from there. This is very basic stuff, guys. I can explain this for a whole hour. Like basic theory of change. David Schroeder had no idea about this stuff. He's like, oh shit, vote Democrat. We got a vibe. If you disagree with that, we might well kill ourselves. No intellectual curiosity. No,
it's completely unserious to me.
He trying to act like we don't care, man. Like, what you talking about? Of course we care. This is why we, you know what I'm saying, people scrambling, they dim exit and all kind of shit. Like, you are talking to lifelong Democrat voters. You know what I'm saying? I've been voting for 20 years, just like yourself, who's trying to find a different way because, you know what I'm saying, life didn't hit them hard. Now they got kids who got, you know what I'm saying, who might not make it. You know what I'm saying? As long as they had lived, they got bills to pay. That's way higher than when it was when they were children. Like, the sense of urgency, I think it just don't.
Yeah, I was just about to get to that because he doesn't have sense of urgency. But what these professional managerial class tries to do to convey a sense of urgency is they bring up the climate change, the climate matter.
Yeah,
because that's what they do. See, I'm thinking of urgency. The climate matter, really? Then why are you going through the Democratic Party? Because that's the slowest way to take care of the climate emergency. So for those who don't understand this, the fastest way to take care of the climate issue is for the working people of the world to take control.
To get violent.
That is the quickest way. That is literally the quickest way. That's it. There's no other way. Capitalists is not going to stop. Capitalists were not going to stop. They're not going to change their ideology. This is not going to change. And we're going to bring up a story in just a second that kind of talks about that. It speaks to capitalism, and that's the water issue in Michigan. I mean, water issue in Mississippi. It's absolute. Actually, we can kind of transition unless you both had anything to say more about the white misleadership class. We can kind of always fuse these together. You don't have to stop talking about it.
Yeah, we can do a new segment. We can
just kind of fuse these together. But so do you think the people in Jacksonville voted? What about the people in Jacksonville voted? Do they get water? Did they get water now in Jacksonville because they voted? It's so absurd. So what do you think would get them to move? Because voting obviously didn't do it because people were in office when this happened. But if the 100,000 or more people that is affected by this water problem in Jacksonville all showed up at City Hall, that shit would have got fixed years ago. You see the difference in strategy? So let's listen to kind of get what's going on with Mississippi to set the foundation for the conversation.
Not drink the water. In too many cases, it is raw water from the reservoir being pushed through the pipes. At the end of last week, I was briefed by the state health department on the discovery that Jackson's main water treatment facility has been operating with zero redundancies. We were told on Friday that there was no way to predict exactly when, but that it was a near certainty that Jackson would fail to produce running water sometime in the next several weeks or months if something did not materially improve. Unfortunately, that failure appears to have begun today. Until it is fixed, it means we do not have reliable running water at scale. It means the city cannot produce enough water to fight fires, to reliably flush toilets, and to meet other critical needs.
Now, is it a coincidence? That's the first question. That these sort of types of incidents, Flint, Baltimore, why is it always happening in black?
It's always in black
like we're 16, we're whatever percent of the population in the teens, but we're getting 100% of the water problems. Like, how is that happening? If you're trying to tell me race does not play a part in this, I'll pass it to you for your first initial thoughts of the story, and it's a couple of more videos.
Yeah,
like we're gonna play the mayor speaking. Also, go ahead.
Yeah, that's the concept of environmental racism that a lot of people don't understand. It's not saying that the climate is racist. It's just saying that the result of the economic capitalist policies leads to our waters, our pipeline being poisoned. I covered how the military dumped toxic pollutants in poor and black communities. Why? Because they can get away with it there. They start dumping this shit in Hamptons. They get so many lawsuits. They dump toxic waste in indigenous waters in Hawaii. Like they focus on the most poor communities, and capitalism produces waste in the most poor communities because that's where they can get away with it. That's their testing ground. It's a class war, and guess who happens to be there? This is why on RBN we say class is race, and anyone who separates the two, they've been mistaken. Because if you are dumping toxic waste in poor communities, it's most likely going to be black, most likely going to be brown, most likely going to be a disenfranchised community. And that's what happened. That in this water crisis, like 80% of the population is black. Look at Flint. These are black communities. People think that's just random. It's our failed institution.
Get away with this and poisoning that they have done to these communities, to these babies, the deaths, and you know what I'm saying, the toll it will cause on these lives. So.
Let me play this other video. There is some audio, not all of it, but some of it, so I can play and we can listen to a little more what's happening down there. We all got to make sacrifices. Okay? I'm only drinking Perrier now. Can you believe it? Just Perrier. I'm making my sacrifice. So go over there and drink that contaminated water.
We got a military fighter jet that failed to launch again. Okay, yeah. You realize we spent $500 million on a fighter jet? It didn't launch. Now we got to spend another $200 million on it, and she's complaining about water. Okay, we got to get this fighter jet off the ground. Okay, you guys realize we spend hundreds of billions of dollars on fighter jets, and she's complaining about water. What are your priorities? I want the fucking jets. We got to fight for the jets. Sorry, CJ. Go ahead. I had to laugh. I have to laugh because it's just stuck and depressing. Like this is how this is my coping mechanism. Sorry, go ahead, CJ.
The way you having to cook is affecting the.
I just want to tell you what that sign said. It said conserve water. So they fuck up, take your taxpayer money, do nothing with, and then tell you it's your job. Let's pitch in and fix the problem they created. It's the same issue with climate. Recycle. Are you buying your Prius? When all you have to do is literally cut the military budget by 90%.
The top 1%.
They were saying this shit when Texas was.
Go ahead, Ron.
They were saying this shit when Texas froze over. It was like, oh well, you guys have to cut down your heat and whatever the fuck. Man, so many people in Texas died because of these people just negligence.
That's violence to me, man. Like that's violence by the state. But go ahead.
They would take a majority town that's white and say it's okay to bathe your white kids in.
Hell no.
Go home and bathe your white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed kids in some dirty, contaminated water. Or go bathe your black-skinned kids. They're okay. This is like what this is saying and how it's such a mundane thing. We are not delivering water to black people, and this is normal.
Yeah, this comment this comment by Lay is basically genocide. Only 50% of the Navajo have running water, maybe less. Flint, they still got birth defects that pop up there. The people that were victims of Flint, they're gonna have gene issues and problems, health problems for the rest of their life, and they're probably gonna pass it down to their kids. Like, this is a structural form of genocide. Go ahead, CJ.
All right, it's a few seconds left, like 20 seconds. Let's see.
Really trying to buy water to take care of your needs.
So I want to add that now the video wrapped up. The obvious. Imagine if this happened in a quote unquote socialist country. Oh my God, Venezuela don't have running and clean bath water. They can't even brush their teeth. Remember the story we did a while ago, the UN? We covered this during the early days of FHL, where the UN had an inspector. They were looking at Mississippi and the infrastructure in Alabama, and they were just looking at the quality of the life of the people that were living in rural areas, for example. And I saw this when I was in South Carolina. I grew up in poverty, far from money, right? But I looked at how some of these rural people in South Carolina live. I'm like, what is this? I thought this is, remember them commercials on Africa? They show little kids and they live in the little huts. It's pretty, like they have like a trailer park. I'm like, bro, that's just a sophisticated hut. Like, y'all got motherfuckers in huts, buried in water, and that's like how people live in the South in some areas. And the UN went to the Alabama and Mississippi, and they said, guys, you realize the quality of life, like we give you guys an F for infrastructure. The quality of life that people live in Alabama and Mississippi in a lot of these black communities is the same as what the United States call a third world country, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we reject that language, but that's the language they use. They'll say, oh my God, look at these people in these third world countries.
Shithole country.
That's how people are living in this country. And I'm bringing this up because this is before this water crisis. Like, this water crisis happened, I wasn't surprised. Once again, the UN rated the infrastructure of the South as an F. But hey, capitalism.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
I pulled a receipt up. It was a while ago, but I think I can find it. But look at this, and I want to remind you guys what it is. Because people think that socialism is just when government does stuff. Capitalism is just when I own stuff. Like, that's not how. Like, it's central planning. Who owns the means of production? Who is deciding the central planning? Look at the central planning of this state. I have a lot of leniency towards countries that do not have a lot of resources, mostly because they are starved by the U.S. empire and sanctions, right? When you look at the DPRK, the DPRK is best for its citizens. Yeah, decolonize your mind. All the Western propaganda, they do the best they can. They just don't have a lot of resources because the West has waged an insane economic war against them. So I give them a lot of grace because the housing free there, healthcare free there. They get free food there. Like when they have peach overgrowths there, they gave up free food instead of throwing food away over here. But their quality of life there is not as high as it should be because they don't have the resources. They've been cut out from the global economic system. The United States, there is no excuse for this. The fact that the richest empire ever, that alone, this discussion between capitalism and socialism, there's no debate. I don't even care if you support socialism. The idea that capitalism works, it's fucking done. I don't care if you're socialist. At least this is not. It obviously doesn't work. How do you take the richest country and this happens?
How many times?
It's crony capitalism. It's crony capitalism, Nick. It's crony capitalism. We had real capitalism, this wouldn't be happening.
That's what they always say.
See, what happened was, CJ, Donald Trump's dad, he was a good businessman. Then the son, he became a crony capitalist. Then, they used to do good business, and it's just so ridiculous the excuses people make for this system. Like, if you had a central planning system that will actually build on maintaining the quality of life for your people, you will upgrade the infrastructure. So this doesn't happen. But if you have a central planning system where your society is based on profit, what's your incentive of doing that? In fact, in a capitalist structure where incentive and profit, I make the argument that you got incentive to poison these motherfuckers, CJ. Yep. Why? Because you can charge them from healthcare. Hey, you might well poison the motherfuckers. You can charge them from healthcare. They die. Hell, you got nothing else to sell.
Real estate.
Yeah, if you think about it in terms of profit, why the fuck should they care? But if you
pandemics, pandemics. I mean, come
COVID,
on.
hell yeah. Remember, Fauci said, a lot of people ignore this. Fauci said years ago, he said, "Man, I really wish another pandemic hit. I want to see another pandemic hit before I retire."
What kind of shit is
He
that?
did say that. And the pandemic hit, and when COVID hit, Big Pharma was like, "Hell yeah, nigga, we about to
we gonna be all right. We gonna be all right."
They was dying in there $1,000 a second. Nigga, holy shit!
A second.
And we about to put mayonnaise on these niggas. All y'all buying it.
All right, so let's listen to the mayor of Jackson speak on the issue of the water crisis in Jackson.
We've been lifting up these challenges since about 2018. I came into office in 2017. And so we've been going to state leadership to speak to these challenges ever since that point in time. This has been a combination of accumulated challenges over the course of time, more than 3 decades worth of challenges. And so I liken it to a vehicle. If you're changing the oil regularly, if you're rotating the tires, if you're giving its tune-up, then it's likely to function better. But when that has not taken place over the course of such a significant period of time as what has happened in Jackson, then you end up with larger, more substantial threats to your vehicle and to this system. And so we've been crying out to the state for the support. There has been inequity in what we've seen in Jackson versus other communities. And so we've been lifting that up. But at this time, what our focus is a focus on a coalition that works together, a coalition that is arm in arm, making sure that we work towards the residents of Jackson and making certain that we can conclude these challenges. We need an overhaul of our water treatment facility. In all actuality, a new water treatment facility would be in order because the water treatment facility we have has never functioned optimally and has had challenges from the moment that it was created. And so I think it is imperative that we work towards automating portions of the plant, the feed systems, weatherizing of the plant. Not only do we have the challenges, stemming from the flood on this event, 2 Februaries ago, the freezing temperatures of a February storm led to the debilitation of the plant at that time. We've seen this time and time again. We have hotter summers, colder winters, and more precipitation annually. And so this is all taking a toll on our infrastructure. And so on the short term, we're looking towards, the state's resources, in human capital and physical capital improvements to the plant. And long term, we're looking towards the combination of state and federal funds to make overall adjustments in the plant. We've been investing the money that we've had. We've invested $8 million towards a larger pipe just to service the South Jackson community. We've invested in a structure over our membrane side and the weatherization process to make certain that we aren't crippled like we were in February. We've invested in so many improvements in our water treatment plant, but we can't go it alone. We don't have $1 billion worth of resources to make this happen. Fortunately, we have the partnership and the collaboration of agencies like the U.S. Water Alliance and Kellogg that are working in conjunction with the city of Jackson so that we can put forth and prioritize that which has already been outlined by our order of consent with the EPA that identifies numerous challenges within our plants. We know what the challenges are.
So let me say this. I'm going to end his interview because it stops right there. I don't know this mayor.
Man, but the chat is
I'm very
this nigga.
I'm a little suspicious because to me, he should be a lot more upset and he should be speaking a lot more aggressively in his critique of the state, unless there's something else going on. And I don't know, if this person's in it for money or if this person's in it because he's really trying to.
He was coached.
He would have been crying if he gave a fuck about it.
Everything the politicians do is coach and rehearse. Like they had someone telling them, like, make sure you keep a calm, measured tone. The same way when Biden gave his speech yesterday, this coach was telling like, make sure you forceful the MAGA terrorists. So they told him in this speech, like, man, make sure you maintain a calm, cool. You don't want people to get upset. You don't want to call any social unrest. That's why they do it.
You don't want people to get in the streets and be mad like they should about this issue. And that's why I'm saying, to me, I just get a gut suspicious feeling about him and how he's describing this situation of your residents, that you're a mayor of,
this is the result
not having water. And this has been a decades-long problem that hasn't been answered. And all you're saying is, we're happy to have a partnership. That's it. Like, that's the, I mean, to me. But go ahead. I got another clip, but go ahead.
This is just the result of black faces in high places under capitalism. Like, these people will never serve the people. They are only in it for themselves. I bet his house isn't flooded. You know what I'm saying? I bet his second house isn't flooded. You know, his people was well off. You know how many people their negligence murder? Like, they displace millions of people, hundreds of thousands of people, and it's just, you know, well, we tried our best, and talking about putting $8 million in a pipeline, that's nothing. That's nothing for a town like Jackson. $8 million for a pipeline, that's nothing. You won't get anywhere with that. And we can see, we can feel even from his tone that he has neglected his people, and he feel like he owes no responsibility because fuck you, he in it for himself, as long as he ain't hurt.
So this is Callie from Cooperation Jackson. He's down in near helping. This is actually, I'm not saying what Cooperation Jackson, but just because I'm thinking of it, like, I want to get RBN to a place to where we could do this stuff. Where it's like, oh, this shit just happened in Jackson, Mississippi. Okay, me, you, Rome, and whoever, you know, me, you, Rome, JB, Stabby, whoever can participate is on a plane to Jackson, and we're out here trying to facilitate help. So that's where I want to get to as RBN. But let's listen to Callie.
Currently in New Orleans, when the mayor issued the warning on Saturday for folks to evacuate, we took the situation very seriously and started organizing on a regional level our allies to start being able to deliver water to the city of Jackson. As the mayor noted, you know, we are not new to this situation, unfortunately. So we could anticipate that we were going to need some resources independent of what the state was going to be able to offer and deliver. And in our case, not being in, at least in our immediate community, not being reliant on the timeline, particularly of the state government, to deliver vital resources to our community. Too often, they've declared, you know, emergencies and then not delivered or not delivered in a substantial amount of time to actually help people on the ground. So our organization, along with several of our allies throughout the Gulf Coast, started mobilizing over the weekend to start gathering up resources to be able to deliver to the people of Jackson in their time of need. And it is a little bit worse than what we anticipated. We've been under these boil water notices, I think, as the mayor noted, for months. We've been under many of these on a constant level for years. So there's been a level of—
They've been having this water problem. How much you want to bet they still have to pay their water bill? Right. How much you want to bet?
I can't bet you on that because I know they is, because people with Flint are.
It's ridiculous.
Of awareness and preparation that many people in Jackson, you know, have been attuned to for some time. But now that we've kind of reached this acute phase of system failure, we are going to be a bit overwhelmed. And I think the commentator that you had just talking about the situation, you know, being untenable, that is really what it is going to be like, I think, for many in our city for weeks to come.
And Kylie, I wanted to ask you, but this infrastructure issue and the racial inequities it reveals across the country. Several years ago, we had the situation in Flint. Subsequent to that, there was the crisis in Newark's public schools with infrastructure, lead pipes in the water, and now we're looking at Jackson. All of these cities are majority Black cities. Could you Could you talk about this situation of the inequities that occur in our system when it comes even to infrastructure?
Well, number one, it's not by happenstance or coincidence. What we are experiencing now is literally just the crumbling of the empire's infrastructure. I think everybody needs to be clear about that, and that this has a long history. I think, as the mayor and other commentators have noted, if you really want to trace a lot of this back, it goes back to, I would argue, to the 1950s and 60s. With the so-called urban renewal programs and the massive subsidization of the suburbs, which facilitated white flight out of many of these major cities, Jackson being one of them. And with that went major capital flight. And that has continued with very chronic programs of divestment and deindustrialization in many cases in most of the cities like Jackson, which is just left crumbling in infrastructure. In every city that you mentioned.
When the white people left, they neglected our
Detroit,
city.
We can go on.
Facts.
On this story, this development, which was facilitated, by programs which were developed on a national level right after World War II, is what brings us to this dimension of the crisis. We also have to talk about, being honest and really linking this to the deeper issue of climate change and the threat that it is clearly now posing all over the world. I mean, just listening to your introduction, we're talking about droughts, in East Africa. We're talking about record flooding in Pakistan. We have severe drought going on in Western Europe right now, in the western portion of the United States. We have to look at this. I would encourage, the audience to look at all of these dynamics as a whole, and Jackson is just one of these kind of acute areas with this systemic policy around just totally subsidizing the petrochemical industry, for decades now, almost a century, but particularly in the United States for 50 years, is the other part of what has been driving this particular crisis, creating all of this systemic change. And if we look at, what's being proposed on the broader level, on the one hand, you have the federal government pushing.
I'm gonna pause it there because I do want
Thank you, because
what we're seeing is the collapsing of an empire. He said it. We're witnessing, and it's just affecting. What do they always say? Who's gonna be affected more? The black, brown, indigenous people, and that's what we're seeing. I'll pass it to you, Rom. Go ahead.
Yeah, and some of these people in the comments, y'all need to kill them. Y'all need to stop it with that white guilt shit, because when we talk about you fucking whites. You whites that's watching this don't have no fucking power. Why are you putting yourself in those people's shoes that we are talking about who have neglected our communities? When the white people, when the white flight did happen, the government did neglect black communities. If you sit back, you can listen to a man who have lived through it tell you, but you're too busy trying to comment and scream at us. So yeah, chill the fuck out. And listen to the man talk about what happens in this community, man. It's just, God damn, y'all don't listen to black people for shit.
They don't have to derail the segment. It is kind of curious why people so obsessed with separating race from class. When people say it's just a class issue. So are we not allowed to mention the fact that despite us being 13% of the population, these things still happen at a higher rate than us? I thought it was all supposed to be, I thought it was supposed to be facts over your feelings. It's just a fact that this happens.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
So does that fact, does it make you uncomfortable? Are we not supposed to mention that? And that fact is related to class. I don't understand how that hard to understand. But let's continue to separate.
I got a Zelle account. You got to inbox me on Twitter.
But if you don't get why people of color might say, or black people in particular might say classes, I don't get why you just go, you know what? I don't get it, but okay, and you move on. I don't get the response sometimes. I don't get that. You're attacking the idea. It's like you don't agree with it, or you don't understand it is a better way of saying it. So move on. Like, I don't get that part. But go ahead, Rome, and then we can get back to the
after the race riots in Detroit. What happened? Another white flight. They got the fuck on. And to this day, we still have buildings that's burnt down from the 1960s. So they have neglected to rebuild our community, and they only want to rebuild it when when the same white families that left during the white flights of those riots came back during gentrification. So kill me with that bullshit. When black people speaking up, listen, y'all might learn something. That's why y'all haven't built the organization yet, because it's hard for you to fucking take. It's hard for you to take in.
I think this concept, some people are just not going to get it, because if you think about it, there's no other ethnicity that has this position, because no other ethnicity has had what has been done to us. You get what I'm saying? So even when you're talking about the indigenous population, they were here. They weren't kidnapped from somewhere else. So there's a difference. But anyway, let's get back to the discussion, because what Callie was bringing up about what we're witnessing, because he was saying, make sure you understand, we're witnessing the collapse of an empire. We're witnessing, look, an empire that can't take care of, Nick, basic needs like supplying water, an empire that continues to go to war but can't win it, an empire that is increasing their financial capital. These are all signs that this is coming to the end, the petrodollar and all these other things. Can you speak to that, or do you have anything to add? Go ahead.
Yeah, because I don't know if we had to end the segment, because I want to share this.
Yeah, we can.
It worked perfect. I'll save this for the end of the segment because it's perfect. It's funny because Rome is how I found this. Speaking of the point of our system being trashed, to the point we now have water issues. While this is happening, you have neoliberals, and well, pretty much no point even. They all neoliberals. The Republican Party and the Democrat, they all neoliberals in our government, whether they MAGA or whether they blue. That's the ideology. Neoliberalism is laissez-faire economics with the emphasis of a giant national security and prison state. Both parties support that, by the way. So they are pretending that China is a dysfunctional country. Meanwhile, everyone else in the world is looking at what's going on in our country like, it's you guys that's the failed state. So look at this video. This is China mocking us.
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah, I was saying, Ron, I found it on your page. It's subtitled, so that's why I don't got the sound on. So I'll just read it. You say, in the United States, one of the world's wealthiest nations, still struggles with food insecurity. In this nation with surplus of food, there are 49 million Americans impacted by hunger. Many cannot afford healthy food to live productive lives. Let me get the white. He gave him the basketball. That's what they always do to African kids. They always like these African black kids. They'll give them the basketball like, let's help.
Let's help each other. Huh?
More people struggle to afford food in America than.
Gave him a
Damn.
basketball.
That's a fucking burn.
So you guys realize that everyone else in the world don't read, and they're not subjected to our same propaganda, right? The same way we cover how German people talk about our society, when they're like, man, these people are sad. Like everyone looking at the United States and like, it's sad and pathetic. French leftists looking at us like, bro, I can't believe every city's not on fire. People in France looking at us like, I can't believe y'all put up with that. But I think that's the perfect way to end the segment.
That's what my Russian friends say every day. Like, is y'all rioting yet? Yeah, are y'all rioting yet? Like, no, nigga, I wish you wouldn't be taught, wouldn't answer the phone.
Yeah. Now, I quickly kind of want to just read a couple of paragraphs of this article. It doesn't have to be a long segment, but the IRA is actually bad for BIPOC, and the which is the what is it? The Reduction Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, is bad for BIPOC, and it's this article that I want to kind of read a couple of paragraphs and get you guys' opinions about. But this is they talk about some points that I wasn't aware of, but this is the article. It was written just like not even a week ago, and this is the title here. Wait, is it showing? Yeah, it's showing. And here's the title here: Why the Inflation Reduction Act is less a climate bill and more a poison pill for Black and Indigenous communities and movements. And I'm going to shout out the author. This is Anthony Rogers Wright, written on the 24th. So let me just read a little bit of this article here. Let me make it a little bit bigger for everybody. I went to the eye doctor. Great news. I don't have cataracts or any of those problems, glaucoma, but got to get some glasses, guys. Got to get some glasses I'm farsighted, so I see good far, but I got to get some glasses. So anyway, so here we go. Among other problematic issues, the so-called climate provision of the Inflation Reduction Act allows for more oil drilling on federal lands. Greenwashing and Democratic Party duplicity are nothing to celebrate for Black and Indigenous communities. Now, let me read this part here. The brother El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, aka Malcolm X, that's his actual name, is Malik El Shabazz, and El Hajj is like a it's like saying sir. It's like a title, not his actual name. But anyway, once again, this is a quote from him. If you're not careful, the newspapers will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing. The tale of two narratives associated with the recent signing into law of the so-called Inflation Reduction Act accentuates his words at a critical time. Communities on the front line of the climate crisis find themselves entrapped in a cycle of climate catastrophe. What is that? Blitz, whatever, and cumulative. My eyes are starting to water. Our cumulative pollution derives from
cataclysm.
Cataclysms. Okay, that's an L.
Yeah, I was like, where is he? Oh, there he is.
Okay, no, that's an L. I couldn't see that. Pollutions derived from legacy and systematic environmental racism and classism. Now, what this article kind of goes into is talking about how some of the white environmental groups are sort of giving cover for this IRA when they shouldn't, because of what it's doing to Black and brown
Sunrise movement. Guys, you guys realize I literally, and it almost shameful to admit it, but I actually started out organizing with the Sunrise movement. That was like one of the first actions I went to. And now the Sunrise movement literally exists as a PR front for weak-ass Democratic Party climate actions, where they come out every single time Democrats do some bullshit on climate. They're like, well, this isn't what we like. I know this isn't what we all want, but this is a step in the right direction. They've said it every single fucking time.
Yes.
But sorry,
you actually going backwards like a motherfucker.
All right, so let's where am I? Read a little more of this. While attending a meeting in Bogota, Colombia, with the newly elected vice president, Francia Marquez, one of her advisors expressed to me that she was questioning why the demographics of those celebrating passage of a bill purported to address the climate crisis don't match the demographics of those most impacted by the crisis. So let me say that part again. Why the demographics of those celebrating, meaning the people celebrating the passage of the purported climate bill, is not the same people or don't match the demographics of the people who will be impacted. Meaning all the white people celebrating, but none of the people, Black and brown people, ain't saying shit. Nobody, none of us are celebrating this bill. Like, and that was the question. That was the question.
I just told one of my white comrades. I was just talking to him yesterday. He was talking about doing something in Jackson, Mississippi with some liberals. I was like, no, never trust the liberals. Like, all they're gonna do is take your hard work and give it to some type of politician or some party, and then they're gonna use you and your hard work to sheep herd other people into the Democratic Party or a branch of their party, DSA or some bullshit like this.
Yeah, working family party or something like that.
Power to these
so continuing this, to me, in a fair inquiry, if a Republican introduced a piece of legislation that included opening up 600 million acres of oil and gas leasing in the Gulf of Mexico, dedicated billions of dollars to unproven false claim climate solutions like so-called carbon capture and sequestration, extended the life of aging nuclear plants, allowed for increased mining of uranium, and tied it to a commitment to ratify a specific rubber stamp American Petroleum Institute side deal, that would deregulate landmark environmental laws like the National Environmental Policy Act, as well as the Clean Waters Act, which have both acted as a vanguard for historically marginalized environmental justice communities, would still refer to it as a historic climate bill, one would hope that the answer would be emphatically hell no. So they listed a bunch of things and to say if a Republican were to call this a climate bill, we would be like hell no to that.
Yep.
So your comments, Nick and CJ, before I read the maybe
Nigga,
the
you
final
CJ.
paragraph here. I mean Nick and Rome, before I read the final paragraph.
No, man,
Go ahead.
You go ahead. I'll wait till you're done.
Yeah, this is all they're gonna do, man.
All right, so let me finish.
Before they even win.
Let me finish a couple another paragraph. So the question then becomes: why are historically white-led environmental groups, commonly referred to as Big Green, as well as far too many anointed climate thought leaders, renowned climate writers, and liberal media outlets, assigning terms to the IRA as a climate bill and a win for climate justice? Right. Is it because the Democrats, the party that gave us the climate bill, a racist New Deal, and a virtually non-existent Voting Rights Act, and rammed it through a unilateral reconciliation process, are the ones who introduced it? I would argue that doing so, even partly for this reason, is both a contradiction and a benefit and a beef of veracity, and apparently so do leading environmental and climate justice organizations. The Climate Justice Alliance, Indigenous Environmental Network, and allied young movements like the Power Shift Network, who recently sent an email to their members with the subject line, "The Inflation Reduction Act is an assault on Black and brown communities," which stipulate no solution is a solution if Black and indigenous nations in the Gulf have to suffer in order to have band-aid solutions for the wider public. So I'll stop there.
This remind me of what Malcolm X always said about having enemies at your negotiation table, or having enemies negotiate for you. You get nothing after the deal is done. So we can't have people speaking for our communities. They know what's going on. We've been foreseeing this for generations now. That isn't a problem. You know what I'm saying? The problem is they don't want us at those negotiation tables, because we're going to come with real demands. It's really going to challenge capital. And this is why I always say, like, you're not going to get climate reform or any type of revolutionary climate reform with this leadership. It's like it won't happen. So, if you want to keep your house, you fight for your house. You know what I'm saying? You want to keep your planet, you fight for your planet. And who are the people that's actually attacking your planet? You know what I'm saying? Making you know what I'm saying? They are negotiating with certain lives, with certain communities, and saying, hey, this community is going to get hurt the most. Well, we can do without them. So as long as we got this, and that, we'll be good. They are just writing you off like it's nothing. You know what I'm saying? So treat them the same. That's all I'm saying. But it's going to come to a lot of us. Look at Pakistan. Almost 3 million people displaced out there because of climate change. Because of
JB, I just saw his stream. He just posted. He'll be covering that this weekend. What's happening, the climate issue that's happening in Pakistan. Nick, I know you wanted to wait to the end, so let me read one more paragraph, because this is going to be part of, probably you're going to include this in your response. This last part here: making matters worse, are big green groups, celebrated climate thought leaders, and certain climate policy experts who clearly know they can't sell the IRA, which is why they've elected to pad it with questionable data, from the amount of greenhouse gases emissions reduced to the amount of money that would be invested in environmental justice communities. Big Green and its acrostic psychopaths continue to cause great harm to the front lines with their tweets, prognostications and media appearances that further lacerate already gaping wounds engendered by years of classism, elitism, paternalism, and conscious or unconscious, as well as intentional and unintentional racism.
And
This behavior, go ahead.
What they were talking about there, that last paragraph is gold. It's perfect because they're calling out the progressive Biden bros by name, essentially right now. Because I saw a segment where Elizabeth Warren was on the new Rachel Maddow, Alex Wagner show, and she was like, this climate bill is amazing, historic. So what they're saying in that paragraph is the progressive frauds who are given credibility by the establishment then did unbelievable harm to the climate movement because they went on a PR campaign and bullshitted people about the climate bill. They ignored the fact that the Biden administration is still fracking, that we're not close to hitting our carbon emission goals, that we are literally giving subsidies to the companies that commit the worst climate actions. But they just come out and say, oh, this is going to reduce the emissions by X amount. Like, is that enough, though? But they just leave it vague purposely. They're out there to apologize for it. Now, the point I want to make on this story, and the point I want you guys take home, and I got bounced out here very soon. Climate, and the reason why a lot of people are turned off by, like, some working class people are turned off by climate discussions because the liberal class did their job perfectly. Their job is to hijack working class issues and make it as unappealing as possible. So when liberals talk about the climate crisis, they say, "Oh, we need to use less plastic straws.
Save the turtles.
Hey, you need to stop eating meat. Yeah, you need to stop eating meat. Y'all need to drive electric cars. That truck, sell your truck. It's your fault." Meanwhile, the top 1% is responsible for more carbon emissions than the bottom 50% of the global working class.
Yeah.
But the liberal class put the onus on us. I am not for that. Any climate discussion without class struggle is pointless authoritarianism and a divisive waste of time. Stop asking working class people to make sacrifices when you can't even cut the military, which is the largest polluter in human history. Liberals would be like, we need to stop eating meat. We need to make all these personal sacrifices. Right. Use and recycle. But then they will fund the military more. So, and when I see people, you see this all the time, people that to my right, where they say, oh, I think the climate discussion is a waste of time. I think the climate discussion is a distraction. They're wrong. They're wrong for the wrong reasons. But they say this because they see the liberal class who are not serious about fighting climate change. We need climate justice because you have the ruling class, which led the climate crisis. They are the one with all the emissions. You have Rihanna, Taylor Swift, Beyonce, Jay-Z, and their private jet alone. They are responsible for more emissions than all of us. They are more responsible than the carbon emissions in 1 year than we would do in a lifetime. Like I'm dead ass.
Right. But they want us to participate. It's our job. We all have to pitch in. No, motherfucker, cut the military budget, do these things. Right. But they don't want to do that. Let me read this last quote and then we can wrap up right now because I actually got to go too. Because this kind of sums up the whole thing. We must be clear. Big Green, the Democrat, and their operatives are exercising a sanctimonious variety of greenwashing and climate denial so long as they continue proliferating the IRA as a climate bill. It is not.
Yeah.
Period.
Of course, it's not a climate bill. They wouldn't make that far. They would not make it that far in the system if it would actually bring change. Like, let's be real, man. We can't. Oh well, this is the best that we can do. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. You just don't want to go. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Where can we find you, Nick? Before you go, where can we find you next? Before you jet out,
make sure you guys, if you haven't, subscribe to Revolutionary Discourse. I put a link in the community if you haven't found it. If you guys haven't downloaded Colin, everyone's on there. Like Bree, all the left media. I even see Jimmy Dore. He does post shows on there. Danny Haifong, he's on there. Glenn Greenwald has a show. You know Q, friend of the show Q. He has a show. He has a show with Glenn Greenwald that airs like every 2 weeks.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So like, call if you're an anti-imperialist leftist, Colin's where it's at. So I usually post it about 3-4 times a week. So that's the only thing I'm gonna promote. I'm not doing that tomorrow. We had a long week here, so probably expect clips tomorrow, and then JB show on Sunday. So that's what I have.
Yeah.
And
we got a meeting on Sunday. We got a meeting on Sunday. Don't forget.
Yeah, and I'm working on getting Brown Joy Gray for later next week. So that's my guest announcement.
Okay, sounds good. All right. And then Rome, if you need to check out Nick, you can dimp out if you want to. Rome, what do you? All right. Rome, what do you got coming up for yourself? When the next time people might see you on a stream next? Sometime next week or before?
No, I should be on here tomorrow afternoon. If I get the backpacks and stuff like that, I'm still working on my deliveries.
Oh yeah.
I just got a whole bunch of snacks. I just got the snacks down packed. I'm still waiting on the backpacks to get here. Hopefully they be here in a timely manner. But we getting everything together. Fundraising is going good. We're gonna be giving out more than 800 backpacks, school supplies, snacks. I'm gonna have a gaming trailer there. We're gonna have a bounce house. It's gonna be nice. You know what I'm saying? Chairs and tables for the community to sit down, talk to each other. Have the kids come together and play. It's gonna be beautiful, man. We're gonna make sure we get as much as you know what I'm saying, as much as we can on camera. You know, I don't really like snapping pictures of niggas, but we're gonna do what we can to deliver some heartfelt moments to the people, because a lot of people did put their money in this and they want to be a part of this experience. Also, you know, you are, you know, in a whole different state. We all are part of this experience. We all are part of this movement. And I want to thank everybody for donating to Tour for the Poor. You know, I believe that, man, this is the beginning of something beautiful. And as long as we continue to be, you know what I'm saying, unapologetic with our messaging and the things that we do for the people and why we do it, I don't think we're going to go anywhere. Even if they take our body, they can never take the work that we did off of this earth. So that's all I got. I'll be seeing this.
But Rome, before you go, Rome needs a producer for his streams and his show. So if you are interested in being a producer with or for Rome, here is our email. Actually, let me change this part here. In the subject line, just put either Rome help or Rome producer in the subject line.
And I also need people down there in Jackson, Mississippi. We're going to be doing a giveaway, some water. We're going to be giving some water away down there to the residents. So we're going to need some hands on deck, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it. I got a lot of things going on as far as family and my girl and whatnot. So we're going to try our best to get as much water as we can down there to the people with, you know what I'm saying, not only water and whatnot, but we're going to deliver a revolutionary message to the people and how we can change this for the better, and who to target to scare these people.
Yeah. So email Rome help, and then Rome, just make sure you check the email recently for that new part you just added there. Also, if you are an activist, Rome tweeted it out not too long ago asking for if you're an activist. If you're an activist, email us, and in the subject line put activist or activist summit. We have a summit that's coming up on October 22nd and 23rd. That's a Saturday and Sunday. And we're going to be showcasing activists, helping to raise money for their activism, talking about any activist organizations. If you're part of that, all types of activism, from LGBTQ, from police abolition to climate to everything, email us in the subject line, put activist summit or activists. And then if you want to join our Substack, or if you want to get notifications of streams like this, join our Substack, and you'll get notifications for streams like this. I think that's it. And on your way out, please like the stream. We're going to end with the historical video. I've been loving this video from Marcus Garvey, so I'm going to play it again. It's one of the few times you can actually hear him speaking. So very powerful speaker, but we'll listen to Marcus Garvey on our way out. Anything else, Rome, before I hit this play button here?
Nope. I love y'all. Hope I see y'all out here with me. September 11, Detroit, Michigan. Inbox me, DM me for the fucking location. Well, and the time. We're gonna be out there. I need some people out here with me so we can hand out flyers and whatnot. So I'm gonna be pushing all this week. So yeah. Take care, y'all.
All right, so Marcus Garvey's about a minute, and then the stream will end. So thanks for watching. Enjoy your weekend.
Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. They gave leadership to our foreparents, and that leadership made them slaves. But we have decided to find a leadership of our own to make ourselves free men. Our great scholars have passed through the colleges, the universities, have thrown away the blessed record. Babylon did it. Assyria did it. France under Napoleon did it. Germany under Prince von Bismarck did it. England under America under George Washington did it. Africa with 400 million black people can do it. If you cannot do it, if you are not prepared to do it, then you will die. You race of cowards. You race of imbeciles, you race of good for nothing. If you cannot do what other men have done, what other nations have done, what other races have done, then you have that ass down.